This September 4th meeting of the Douglas County Board of Education will now come to order. Dr. Prince, will you lead us in the pledge to allegiance?
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated.
At this time, we'll take a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2012 executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2012 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Minutes have been approved. At this time, I will take a motion to approve the setting of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. The agenda has been set. Dr. Fritz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, certainly my honor and privilege tonight to recognize some of our students from our high schools that have taken a risk and put their name in the hat for consideration, and we are proud to recognize them tonight as they were selected for this program. And we extend our congratulations to 6 of our high school students. They've been selected to participate in the Model Atlanta Regional Commission, or the MARC program. The Atlanta Regional Commission, the official planning agency for the 10-county Atlanta region, created this dynamic youth leadership program about 15 years ago to bring together teen leaders from high schools throughout the metro area who want to make a difference in their community. Creating a great place to live is the work of many people. Each year, approximately 55 high school students have the opportunity to share their ideas with the region's leaders through MARC. The Douglas County school system is very proud to recognize the following students who were chosen to participate in this year's program. And we had 6 selected. That's tremendous representation, and we are very, very proud of them. So as I call their name, I would like for them to come forward and stand as a group, and we'll get some pictures and recognize them. Then we're going to let the board congratulate you, and then we want to recognize the motivators behind the operation. Oftentimes that's the parents. So we're going to take some time. But let me call up first Megan Duckett from Alexander High School. All right. From Chapel Hill High School, Maurice Davis. From Douglas County High School, Kayla Evans. From Douglas County High School, Madeline Gibbs. From Douglas County High School, Darian Hector. And finally, also from Douglas County High School, Norman Stringer. Students, we want to congratulate you on your participation and your selection in the MARC program, and we know that you all will gain a valuable experience from your time there, and you'll represent your fellow classmates across the district well. So thank you for taking a risk to put your name out there, and we're so proud of you and what you did. And we'd like all the parents of these folks to stand so we can recognize the parents as well. We're going to get a picture, and then we're going to let the board congratulate you. You stand, you're going to jump into that, and I'll jump into the other end. How we doing? Everybody got one? There we go. Yeah, you better let Mom get one. You and me will both be in big trouble if I don't let Mom get one. All right. Okay, work your way around, let the board members congratulate you. Madam Chair, that concludes our recognitions tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Pritz. Well, I know the board and I certainly want to offer our own congratulations to the students that have been selected for the Model Atlanta Regional Commission program. That sounds like it's going to be quite an experience for you. But then again, we're the ones that benefit because you are representing Douglas County students. And I'm very proud to have gotten a chance to meet each and every one of you and to know that you'll represent us well. Thank you and congratulations again. At this time, we generally take a short pause just for those of you that may have other things that you would like to do this evening, such as study, prepare for school the next day, get your homework done, that you could leave. We will break for about 3 minutes and then continue with the business section of our meeting. And of course, we encourage all of you to stay if you would like. Thank you. Okay, at this time, then we'll continue with our agenda. We are on item 7, audience participation. And Ms. Nicholson, I believe that we had Ms. Tara Foster. Is that correct? Yes. Is Ms. Tara Foster here in the audience? And do you want to check the hallway before we move on?
She's on the clock too.
You mean her for minutes? It's
Yeah.
already started. No. Okay. Not easy to do public speaking. Some people think they want to. So that brings us to item 9, new business. Discussion of House Resolution 1162.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I've asked this item to be placed on the agenda tonight to begin the dialogue and discussion over the constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot for voters to consider in the November election. This amendment would, if approved by the voters, would overturn a Georgia Supreme Court ruling that would allow for the formation of schools by the state. And they would approve these. This amendment would allow schools to be approved without local approval and would utilize local money to support the schools. I've provided you a number of handouts here. I wanted to begin to provide information to the board and then also to the public as we move forward. And you have some information there in 3 PDF files, some facts for the public and for the press, some of the information from State Superintendent John Barge, who has voiced his opposition to the amendment and is providing a lot of attachment data there. And then finally, a fact sheet from Mr. Barge that breaks down the issues. So I want the board to have this information. I'd like to seek direction from the board going forward in terms of our continued discussion of this topic for the next several board meetings, and our sharing this information and our pathway for sharing this information with the public, so that the public is well informed so that they can make a decision on the election day in November on this very important constitutional amendment that impacts public education.
I
Thank
guess
you, Dr. Fritz.
I guess I
Discussion?
would like to have us continue to have discussion on this and also get some ideas of what the limits are as to what we can do as board members.
We can certainly gather that and provide that to the board and to our employees, much like we did with our East Lost. We fall under many of the same requirements that we had to follow with the East Lost, where we can provide information. It's my understanding the board can take a position on this and make that publicly known. Several boards around the state have already done that. Obviously, our state school superintendent has done that. So we can certainly provide that information and find out the parameters in which the board should operate to be responsible as far as the law is concerned. So we'll gather that, sir.
Mr. Jackson?
Once the board makes a decision which direction we're going to go on this constitutional amendment, the three PDF files that you have, will they be posted on our website if we so choose to do so?
We certainly can put them in a prominent place on our website. They technically, I guess, are on the GSBA website as part of this agenda item for this board, but we can certainly add that and any other information that the board feels is important for the public to have on our website.
And the reason I'm suggesting that we put it on our website, a lot of people will not check the Georgia School Board Association website, but they'll look at ours. And as well as posting it on the information on our website, utilize Notify Me.
Certainly.
I mean, we got 25,000 students.
Right.
A lot of people voting in Douglas County.
I appreciate that, Mr. Jackson. I think it's very important that we get this information out to the public. The wording of the agenda item is simply, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow state or local approval of public charter schools upon the request of local communities. And I think it's very apparent that in just reading that and not knowing all that's behind it and the facts, that it can be misleading. I'm not saying that people would be misled, but it could be misleading. And so I think providing factual information and what this potentially means for funding to our schools and potential impact on funding in the future, that once people get a lot of the facts, they'll be better informed and can make an informed decision.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. And I know we're on the timeline. This is the 4th of September, so in less than 60-something days. That's why I brought that subject up, is communicating with our community as well as surrounding communities, and maybe we all share information and we get the message across.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I certainly agree with you 100% that that's going to be important.
Dr. Fritz, I have one question and one comment. Does the state school board at this time approve charters?
Well, charters originate here at the local level, or requests for charters originate here at the local level. And once submitted to this board, then the board considers them and approves them. If they are not approved by the board, they can then go to the state for consideration, and the state has approved a number of charters through that process.
So the state can already approve charters, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I guess this is just a comment I have to make for our citizens to understand that local charters, of which I'm very proud that we have one here in Douglas County that is actually in the running for Charter School of the Year, which is Brighton Academy, is not the issue with this constitutional amendment. Because local systems do approve charters. And it's my understanding there's like over 100, 110, mostly in the metro area, that are approved. So I do not want anyone to misconstrue this agenda item as we're having discussions today or in future meetings, that somehow that is taken as opposition to charter schools. Because I know the board just approved Brighton Academy's charter renewal about a year ago. So I don't want that to be misconstrued sometimes when people just hear the word charter. That's
That's
the rest.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
And we also have a conversion charter, or a local charter at the College of Career Institute is another charter in our district that's very successful. And we are supportive of successful charters. And I think that's important that the board have that prerogative to review those.
So I just want to get, since this is discussion, a feeling from the board, then we would like to have information continue to be provided to the board. We look forward to seeing that on a future agenda item, and you'll get some information to us in terms of from legal counsel what we're able to do, and then see if there is a will of this body.
You know, looking at these attachments, and there's a lot of information on these attachments. Almost too much information on these attachments. Is there any way that we can disseminate this information? It needs to be more concise, and we got 3 pages of just going through what the instructional days of some of the school systems are, and that's interesting, but I guess I would like to see it shortened up some.
We certainly can put it in kind of an executive summary format and kind of a fact sheet similar to this first sheet here. I think Dr. Barge, when he came out, provided all of this as factual backing of his position. And so he provided overkill, I guess, if you will, because he knew he'd probably be criticized for his position. And so he wanted to make sure there was plenty of data attached to how he arrived at his position. And we certainly can and will work on keeping it very clean and very succinct and understandable.
That's a good point, Mr. Morris. Not everybody reads through all that. Mr. Jackson, did you have another comment?
Just a timeline, because it's less than 65 days left. So we definitely are on timeline.
We can definitely get the information gathered so that we can provide more of that at the next meeting. Shortly after that meeting, we have a kind of a training session, if you will, in Rome. The Reeses are sponsoring those across the state, and we're scheduled to attend one on the evening of the 27th, I believe it is, in Rome. And we have a group of people that are going to that information meeting with the other Reeses in that area, other districts in that Reese area.
Regional Education Service Agencies.
Excuse me. Figure out one of those EduCrat acronyms.
Is there any further discussion for tonight's meeting?
But just piggybacking on Mr. Jackson mentioned, the October time period is going to be a critical month, I think, in really speaking to various groups as we may have opportunity to do, whether that be in business organizations or Kiwanis, Rotary clubs, those types of opportunities. We'll hit that hard in October.
And I think the guidelines from legal in terms of, as board members, what we can or cannot do as well for representing the board or would be helpful. But information, regardless of what side you're on, is important.
Yeah, we'll gather all that as well, so board members are real clear on what they can do and should not do.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. That brings us to item 10, the consent agenda. I will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Discussion agenda, that brings us to item A, student achievement and leadership.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the first item on the agenda is Bridges and 21st Century Community Learning Center update. And Mandy Johnson and Nancy Teal are here to provide that update for you.
And Ruby Byers.
And Ruby Byers, sorry. Sorry,
I want to
Ruby.
leave Ruby.
Good evening. We just want to give an update about the Bridges grant. We are going into our last year of the grant. Two goals of the Bridges grant are to increase student achievement. When students leave the Douglas County school system, we want them to be able to succeed in post-secondary education and careers without remediation. Goal 2 is academic rigor, increasing educational expectations and requirements while maximizing their full academic potential. Some of the strategies we've used over the past 5 years to reach our goals have been freshman academies and 8th to 9th grade transition programs at all high schools, career pathways for students in grades 10 through 12, professional learning communities for our instructional staff, academic support and increased rigor and relevance, post-secondary enrichment activities, and advisement programs. Also, parent involvement. As I stated, 2012 through 2013 is the final year of grant funds. In 2010, we had a panel of teachers, counselors, principals, APs, and the Bridges coaches to begin the sustainability process, and Ruby's going to discuss that.
What we found through that process was that the 3 strategies that each school wanted to sustain were freshman transition, academic support, and post-secondary enrichment. And I'll just briefly talk about the ways that the specific activities in those strategies that we would like to continue. The Freshman Expo and Freshman Fiesta. Those are 8th to 9th grade transition activities that we do in the spring and in the summer that allows students to become acclimated with high school before the first day of school so that they feel a little bit more comfortable on that first day of school. The Bridges Buddies Peer Mentoring Program, where we have upperclassmen go into advisement groups, the freshman advisement groups, and conduct some of the advisement lessons and serve as mentors for them throughout the year. They serve as a familiar face that a freshman can go to if they have a question about, how do I join a sport or how do I get into a club? So they have somebody that they can go to and ask these questions instead of having to go to an adult in the building. And then our freshman academies, we would like to continue to have that strategy as well. As far as academic support programs, E2020 is the credit recovery program that we were able to purchase with grant funds a few years ago. The cost is $28,629 to continue the subscription each year, and Bridges does pay for that. Each year we will continue to do that this final year. After-school tutoring and Saturday sessions, with grant funds we are able to provide transportation and pay for teachers to stay after school and come in on Saturdays to help our students with remediation that they might need or some test prep, whether it's SAT or Georgia High School graduation test or EOCT. And some of the ways that we might be able to keep that going is to maybe incorporate some assistance during the school day for our students. And then we also have teachers who tutor their students already after school without having to be paid from Bridges funds. So we'd like to continue and encourage that as well. And then continue programs like Math One Parent Night, where parents can come in and learn about how they can help their child with their homework. And then also AP Parent Night, where we can talk to parents and encourage them or talk to them about how to get their students or how to encourage their students to take those advanced placement classes. And then finally, sustaining post-secondary enrichment programs. We've discovered over the last few years that just exposure to college is really important to students to kind of get them thinking about where they want to go to school and how or what they need to do to get there to make that a reality for them. And so we do the Pro College Fair every year. It's not something that Bridges had started, but it's something that Bridges has coordinated for the last 5 years. And it's something that we can continue to do, maybe have the counselors or the Career Center clerks take that on. The college field trips, we can maybe have corporate sponsors or alumni groups sponsor a bus to take students to do a preview day or do a bus tour or a college tour. We can also have students pay a small fee to cover the transportation costs. We like to continue to offer Saturday practice tests. Kaplan and Princeton both do free practice tests for our students each year, where they will come in and do the practice test one day, and then a couple of weeks later hold a parent night where the students will get their results, and that doesn't cost us anything. It's just a matter of coordinating that activity for our students. Continued grade-specific parent nights coordinated by the counseling department, whether that's financial aid or how to get to college. We do work with our PTSAs to coordinate a college panel night, and this will be the second year that we do that, and where we bring in colleges, representatives from different colleges, and have a parent talk about financial aid. So we're planning to do that again, and the PTA has actually kind of started that effort, so we'd like to maybe continue that through them. And then also continue advisement as part of the bridge legislation so that our students can have extra lessons on some post-secondary planning. And that concludes our presentation, and you have our contact information there, and you know how to get a hold of us if you have any questions about bridges. We'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
After high school?
Even after, if y'all are not renewed as far as getting financial support, can any number of these programs still be continued, but be continued with school staff?
Yes, sir.
Is that,
The grant is no longer offered through the USDOE, so the department has gone away, but we can't continue many of the activities without funding costs to the system.
is that something y'all are going to work on? Or?
Yes, one of our goals this year is to utilize our Bridges coaches to help the schools kind of go into their sustainability mode and look at the sustainability plan that they had developed a couple of years ago and start reaching out to other resources that can help us sustain some of these programs. Like I had mentioned, the college field trips, maybe contacting some alumni groups to see if they would sponsor a bus for our kids to go, because Bridges won't be able to fund that bus after this year.
And New Manchester's already operating in sustainability mode. They took our sustainability plan, and so we know it'll work because they're able to keep some of the activities through sustainability mode at New Manchester High School.
Ms. Johnson, is that one of the requirements of the grant, that you put a sustainability plan together as you go through the grant? You have to meet those requirements.
Yes, sir.
Can I just ask one quick question? Do all of the high schools have freshman academies?
Yes.
They're all fine.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Sure, we'll turn it over to Missy Teal.
I'm here to talk to you tonight about the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant. You have a handout underneath the Bridges handout. The grant is funded by the U.S. Department of Education, and it funnels through to the state. And then the state puts out an RFP, and we can make applications each year for those funds. And so the state of Georgia actually administers this through the 21st Century Division. The purpose of this grant is to either establish or expand after-school programming to where you're adding academic enrichment as well as academic tutoring. And we currently have 5 elementary schools, 7 middle, and 3 high schools. The grants are on a funding cycle, so they usually apply for them for a 3-year term. But now the current grants are on a 5-year term, those that we apply for currently. This page lists the schools in which we have grants at. We have a high school grant, which was just awarded, a middle school grant that's listed here. Then we have factory transition, mason transition, focus, and STAR. These are all in different stages and different cycles of grant implementation. And the High Achiever Champ is our most recent one, which was just awarded in July this year, which added New Manchester High School to the schools in which we serve. As far as the students which are eligible for this program, we have a qualification system and a tier system where we look to see our top priority, of course, are those students who are not making grade level standards and not performing at standards, whether it's in their classroom or on standardized tests. We also look to see if they are reading on level or if they're behind. We look to see if they have family histories of repeating grade levels or school dropouts in their household. Of course, we look at their absenteeism and there are other socioeconomic factors that go into qualifying these students so that we're targeting the most at-risk students. The program has to offer a balance of enrichment and academics. We have, on a given day, we have a snack provided by our food service department. We have homework and tutoring time, remediation, which is based on the student's needs. We evaluate the data every 3 to 6 weeks to see where the gaps are, where the needs are, and then we change our program services to match where those needs are. All these activities are taught by certified teachers within the school usually. Depending on how large the program is, sometimes we have some other teachers who come in from other schools. But for the most part, the school has their school day teachers who are working the program. We have to have a structured fitness component, character education, hands-on enrichment where they are integrating science and technology and math, and then we transport these students home. This program is a Monday through Friday for the full school year. Students typically stay in the program the majority of the time. Just some program facts. We served over 1,443 students last school year, which was 294 students more than the previous year, and 72% were average daily attendees, which is a very high percentage. We had received high compliments from the Department of Education on our site visits and in our program reports at the end of the year because of the number of students coming every day. Every one of our schools were able to reach their target number. As far as funding over the years, it outlines here that we're bringing in $2.2 million this year, but we brought in $15 million to the district through these funds, and it is a competitive grant application process. So that is, and then of course we have some pictures here of some of our students, because we did offer summer school. They've taken trips to places such as the aquarium to tell us, and different places that they may not get to go. So that concludes my part of the presentation. Are there any questions?
Dr. Haskell?
Now, what is there a time limit also when will you be able to continue your program?
They're in different cycles, and so for some schools they continue for their 2-3 years that they have left. And then we do have some sustainability planning that we are working with. The most recent grant is a 5-year grant, which is at New Manchester, Douglas County, and Lithia. Part of that grant is a 5-year funding, but in years 4 and 5, it's reduced funding, so we're having to get into our sustainability plan and work on sustaining the funds and finding partners to help us with those academic areas and tutors to, yes, sustain the program. So we do have some planning in there.
Well, I just have one question.
Okay.
Is there any kind of parent component?
There is. We have opportunities for parents to participate in an orientation where we go over the procedures of the grant and how it works. And then we work in collaboration with the school to offer parent sessions at least 6 times a year, whether it's involvement or educational. And these programs have a site coordinator that works in conjunction with the school administrator. And if they have a parent organization, then they work with that organization.
Thank you.
I would like to let the board know that we are looking into some race to the top grant monies. You may even hear our school system mentioned in some news reports that we have expressed interest in that. We have not applied for that, but we are looking into it. We have to do a great deal of research. But part of our interest in these funds was generated by the fact that we're losing these funds, and it may be that we have an opportunity to pick up some funds that can maybe replace, so to speak, where we are losing. So we're looking at that. We have submitted our interest, and I think once we get do our homework on it, we'll see whether we're ready to apply for that. And the deadline, I think, is end of October. Just for the board's information, even though we do have a sustainability plan for both of these, when you don't have money, it makes it tough to sustain.
So just clarifying, so these are the new Race to the Top funds that are available to school systems, not to the whole state. It's not the state application,
What was that
it's
funding?
the new funds that,
What's that funding amount?
5 to 10 million.
Okay, 5 to 10 million. Could be available to the district.
thank you. Seeing no other questions? And
Thank you, ladies.
we have a technology pause while I bring back the agenda. That brings us then to item 2 under student achievement and leadership.
The next item is for discussion tonight and approval on September 17th, the Transition Career Partnership Coordinator position. Janet Baskin has served in this capacity since 2009. She's paid as a consultant and therefore doesn't receive any benefits. She spends time in our schools working on the middle to high school transition process. She works with our post-secondary partners and many other activities that were listed in a coordinator activity that was part of the attachment. The cost is $35,000 and the funding source is Perkins and Bridges grant funds.
Questions, comments? I have one. The Perkins grant, is that the homes? No. What's the Perkins grant?
That's through CTAE.
CTA. I knew I'd heard the terminology. Okay. Career Technical Agriculture.
That's the same one it was has been under the funding.
Yes.
Any questions? Mr. Jackson?
The Bridges grant, if this is the last year for the Bridges grant, are funds in that grant available to support that?
Yes, currently in the Bridges grant, these funds can be used to pay for this position. Is that your question?
Yes.
Yes,
Last year.
last year. That's where we go with
That's-
sustainability.
Last year, okay. Make sure.
Or maybe we'll get 5 to 10 million.
Seeing no other indication of questions or comments, that brings us then to C, operations. Mr. Sproul?
Yes, Madam Chair. As you know, we have been doing aggressively renovating schools in our district thanks to the availability of SPLOST funding and the citizens of Douglas County that's enabled us to have that funding. We have almost totally renovated 8 schools in the last 4 years, in fact, last 4 summers. We've been working under a 5-year contract that was approved by the board back in '07. That contract with that construction manager expired this past July. So we put out a request for proposal for new construction managers to renovate 2 schools in the summer of 2013, which you approved on the capital budget this past spring. That's Arbor Station Elementary and Dorset Shoals Elementary. So we put that request out. It's the same process as we used 5 years ago. We're here to bring for you a recommendation and discussions. Our recommendation is to go with Torrance Construction out of LaGrange, Georgia. Kurt Nicholson is here. Kurt is our coordinator of capital improvements, and he coordinated the vetting process, the review process with the panel. And I'll ask Kurt to come up now and give us some specific dates and timelines of what we've been going through for the last few months. Answer any questions you may have. Again, this is the same process that we used 5 years ago when we selected a construction manager. Things are different. That was a different environment. We were looking at a lot of new construction, a lot of growth. So the board approved a 5-year construction manager of record. But now, because of the slower growth, we're going to bid out these major capital projects as we come to them. And the first 2 are Arbor Station Elementary and Dorset Shoals Elementary. Kurt, some details. We have a technology glitch here, so we'll share it.
Madam Chair, Dr. Fritz, and other board members. I'm coming to you tonight to basically give you a timeline as to how this process came about. We actually put these proposals out on the website through the procurement department on July the 9th and July the 10th for...
Speak a little more into the microphone.
All right, on July the 9th and July the 10th for Arbor Station and Dorset Shoals. Also, Southern A&E advertised for us as well. They sent out notifications to their contractors to their database, and they contracted well over 100 contractors for each project. After that time, we set up a pre-proposal meeting where we invited the contractors to come to the school and look at to visit the site and see what the impact would be and how the difficulty would be to actually do each school. It was their opportunity just to come and evaluate it. We had 12 contractors show up for Arbor Station and 13 show up for Dorset Shoals. Now, 7 of these came to both schools, and then we had a couple others that showed up for one that didn't show up for the other, so that's why the numbers are different. On August the 20th, we received proposals back from the contractors. We received 9 on Arbor Station, 10 on Dorset Shoals. And also on August 20th, the evaluation committee got together and we opened the proposals, scanned through them, looking for critical information we said had to be there or we were going to throw you out, such as bonding information. If you couldn't get bonded, we weren't even going to consider your elevation. Your proposal would have been down in the trash. We would have wasted any more time on it. The evaluation committee consisted of 5 members, 4 school system employees, and 1 employee from the Douglas County Development Services Department. The guy Mark Teal was chairman of that department as well. On August the 27th, we regrouped and we discussed the contractors. We discussed how we evaluated. They were evaluated on 8 items. The criteria was set up for 8 different items, such as firm history, relevant history, financial information. Did you provide an audited financial statement? We had some contractors that wouldn't provide them, therefore they weren't allowed to bid it. So, but that wasn't in there. We looked at previous history with Douglas County. We looked at claims history, or these contractors have a history of problems with owners, problems with subcontractors and suppliers. These are all things that were taken into consideration. There was 8 of these items total that we looked at and reviewed and scored each contractor based on these items. At the end of the scoring process, the committee selected Torrance Contracting for both projects. Even though it would be separate contracts, they will be in both projects over the summer. Torrance scored a 93 on Arbor Station and a 95 on Dorset Shoals Elementary. The lowest scores received on those 2 projects was a 68 on Arbor Station and a 66, so there was quite a range, quite a variance in scores out there. Torrance's fee for the general conditions and overhead and profit on Arbor Station is $390,000. It's a $6 million job. That's roughly 6.5% fee for that particular project. Also, Torrance's fee for Dorset Shoals is $330,000. Again, that includes the general conditions overhead and profit, and that works out to approximately 5.5% fee. Above and beyond that, we did receive some other proposals with fees that One contractor came at $737,000 on Arbor Station. Another contractor came in at $736,000 versus Torrance is $390 and $330. So that's how we decided on Torrance. That's all I have. Any questions, be glad to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Questions?
Just for clarification, this was based on an estimate of $6 million
Based on
per
that, $6
project.
million per project.
And that's how we budgeted that.
Yes, sir.
And once we approve once the board approves the contractors, then they'll bid that out.
Yes, sir. We will actually, they will go out and get subcontractor bids, and then they'll come back to us with a guaranteed maximum price. And we'll have that to you, it's planned to be to you December, at the December the 3rd board meeting. That's when we anticipate you voting on that.
For the guaranteed maximum price. And we're hoping that it'll be somewhat less than the $6 million that we've estimated. That's an estimate we have along with our engineers and architects per school.
So then I understand that their fee is set, but their percentage would be based on what that guaranteed maximum price.
Torrance's general conditions fee for both projects is like $240,000 per project. And then you add the other, they came in at 1.5% on Dorset Shoals and 2.5% on Arbor Station. So that will be added on as part of whatever the guaranteed maximum price is, that will be added into multiplied by to get the fee.
I just wanted the board to understand that those fees are based on an estimate.
Yes.
And when we bring back to them at a later date, it'll be the guaranteed maximum price, and that'll be the final price.
That's correct.
But then tonight, they're considering these for approval at our next meeting to get these project management firms in place to begin that process.
Yes, sir. This is the process to approve Torrance Construction as a construction manager for both of these schools.
I thought I understood until clarification. So I'm not sure that I could hear Mr. Nicholson's response to you. So clarify, the 330,000 and the 360,000 is a firm price, or is
No, it's an estimate.
regardless of what the 6 months? No, I see. So it's an estimate. So the
Based on
percentage.
$6 million.
So the percentage is what we're looking at. So if it comes in at 5 million, it would be a percentage.
That's correct.
Got it,
That's
okay.
clarification I was trying to make. I made it clear.
Thank you. Ms.
And,
Morris.
and we'll continue, they will do a bid package with all the major areas.
Yeah, there's typically 16 divisions plus, so they put together work categories, tailoring for each project, each school. Sometimes they combine pieces of parts. They also have to separate them out. Oftentimes there's way more than 16 different divisions. And we're required to take at least 3 bids on every package, or we're going to make them rebid it.
And we'll have those sealed and opened at a bid,
It'll happen here in our office. We'll have Lawrence come up here and open those packages here in front of us.
And that we'll be working with them and the contractor, putting those packages together. We'll all review the bids, and we'll invite the board to come at the bid opening sometime in November. I don't know, do we have an exact date for that?
No, sir, not until we can set up something with Lawrence.
and they can, people can apply as a vendor and make bids
Through Torrance
through
Construction.
Torrance Construction if they meet the criteria. And this is the same one we used, same process that was used basically 5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Is Torrance going to be bidding on stuff themselves with the package?
Typically, there's some odd areas that you can't get somebody to bid on sometimes, and Torrance has to self-perform it. Like general cleaning, it's hard to find somebody to come out and do general cleaning on a daily basis. So Torrance will have a staff member, put a number together for that, things of that nature.
But we'll work with them to get multiple bids, even for cleaning, if at all possible. And we'll also work with the engineer and architects for that. If they self-perform, we'll be involved and ensure that they are the low bid for that process and a lower bid than any competent qualified subs that did apply.
Would any of these other companies that that did not win this bid, then would they be bidding on some of those subcontracted? Is that,
Not as a general
Not general.
rule, most contractors don't carry mechanical people or plumbers and all. It's possible they could, if they have a labor force, might bid with Torrance for masonry work or concrete work. But as a general rule, they don't mix and mingle.
It's happened in the past, it's not happened on any of our projects, but there are other counties where, for instance, Torrance did concrete work for Ray Lynn. It was a strange deal, but it worked out.
If they were low bid.
If they were really low bid.
Usually any skilled things such as electrical, roofing, mechanical, those are companies to themselves, not associated with the contractors.
thank you. Mr. Jackson?
The scoring process, that's,
Yes.
how does that work? I wasn't here 5 years ago, so I'm not sure.
Mr. Jackson, we had a weighted criteria. There was 8 items set up that we gave different weights to each one. Again, we go back to the firm history, relevant history. You know, have you ever renovated a school in a summer? If you hadn't, well, you didn't get a very high score on that particular item. Again, we looked at claims, we looked at your financials. If your financials didn't look good, then you got a really low score on that as well.
With the scoring range, we get like students get scored 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. Even using that weighting system that you just mentioned, was that based on a number scale?
1 to 100.
1 to 100?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That would be the total score. Yep.
Well, he got 93, it had to be 100.
Exactly. That's correct.
And you had 5 individuals rating, and then you took the average.
That we did. So total numbers. That's
Thank you. I appreciate, Madam Chair, members of the board, I appreciate the effort that Mr. School's department, Kirk, went through. A lot of work involved here, and process is a very sound process, and I think we come to you with a recommendation that is that we're comfortable with in terms of price, but equally as important, we're comfortable in terms of completing the project on time, which is critical in a 7-week period to get the kids and the teachers back into school. So a lot of work, but that pays off in the long run, so I appreciate that.
One more, have they taken on jobs of this size in 2 different locations? Do we?
Yeah, they have. They've done work for us in the past. They converted Chapel Hill Elementary to
Yeah, I
Chapel Hill
remember.
School. And the 6-week period was a very heavily involved project. At the same time, they were doing the addition and renovation to the cafeteria at Alexander High School. This past summer, they had 3 or 4 projects that they completed with similar scopes, maybe not quite the same size, but then you start totaling them all up, and it was equivalent to that.
I might want to mention on one side is the construction manager, and that's what we're vetting now and going through with the board. Southern A&E is also designing and putting up plans, drawing plans as we speak, and have been walking the building, working with us this summer on plans, everything from heating and air to floor covering, plumbing. So Southern A&E is developing those plans as we speak, bringing them to a point where the selected contract manager, in this case Torrance, will bid this out in November. So the architect and engineering has been working with us for the last 6 months on this process. And we are more than happy and will work, as we have in the past, with whoever's selected to try to stage as much as we can so we don't have it all hit in the summer, but not interfere with any education or learning. And we will work with whoever, in this case Torrance, spring break and any weekends to do what we can without interfering with the learning process.
So this will come to us either as an action item or on a consent agenda at our next board meeting. Is that correct? And our time frame then is
If there are, as always, if there are any questions or anything that the board has after tonight, just send them our way. We'll get answers right back to you so that we can make this a part of the consent agenda. Now, if there are a number of questions that come up, we can keep it on the discussion, but it'll move to action. So we do need approval on this to keep this.
I guess that's what I'm asking is what would be the drop dead for an action?
We would like action by the board. That's what we're proposing today for to be discussion at the first meeting this month for approval September the 17th at our next meeting. for Lawrence, just like any program we put before you, like a discussion and approval of the next meeting, and that'll keep us online for the bidding process, and also keep us online to come to you with a guaranteed maximum price December the 3rd, I
Because
think.
we only have one meeting in December.
So I had one meeting, and the contract construction manager cannot start work until that guaranteed maximum price is approved by the board. So we definitely would like to approve that guaranteed maximum price before we break for Christmas. Therefore, we're asking that the board approve the construction manager risk recommendation at our next board meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions, comment, discussion? Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. That brings us then to agenda item 12, action agenda D, student support and services. Ms. Davis.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I have one item for discussion and approval. The Douglas County School System has been awarded 6 21st Century Community Learning Grants for the 2012-2013 school year. 5 of these grant awards are continuation. One is a new award. These grants serve 15 schools total for the amount of $2,208,910. One of the requirements in order to receive the grant is that the Georgia Department of Education requires that the school board accepts the grant award, and it is part of the grant assurances and monitoring compliance.
Thank you. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve the 21st Century Community Learning Center after-school program grant assurances and monitoring compliance as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I would hope after the discussion that we've already had and the wonderful presentation from Ms. Teal that we don't have any now, but if you do.
All in the timing.
Seeing none. All in favor of approving the 21st Century Community Learning Center after-school program grant assurances and monitoring compliance as presented, please signal. Motion carries. Thank you. I believe that then takes us to information only.
Yes, ma'am. Before you is a listing of overnight and out-of-state field trips that we have been submitted by the schools to Zach Spencer. And just for your information, you've got that list.
Thank you.
Mr. Spurley, you don't want to go over this list. I know this is your specialty area right here.
It is. I don't know if I've got a specialty, but
I believe this has to do with the reorganization, the flow chart, and
well, you know, it flows through Mr. Spencer, but the area directors actually approve it. Monty Bieber and Kathy Swanger actually approve it.
I think Mr. Morris is.
Unless you see a trip here that I
Nothing out of the ordinary, Mr. Morris.
I'll just see if I can trip him
I
up.
think he's trying to trip you, that's correct.
This is for your information, and Mr. Bieber and Ms. Swanger approves it.
That brings us then to the last item, board member comments. Mr. Jackson.
Have none at this time, Madam Chair.
Dr. Haskell.
I have none at this time except to just thank all of the people who I know have been working hard. I've heard about all Ms. Stroud is doing, but also Ms. Johnson, Ms. Fires, Ms. Teal, and these 3 other wonderful other people. But I'm just getting to see how hard people are working here. And I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all the work you all do.
I have
Mr.
none,
Morris?
Mr. Chair.
Well, I do. I would like to thank Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Sproul for the presentation. Facilities is definitely not my area of expertise, and I'm learning more and more as we go, and I appreciate the thoroughness of the information so that someone very not familiar with that area is learning. I am a lifelong learner, so thank you so much for that. And then I also just want to thank Dr. Fritz for bringing forth the discussion of House Resolution 1162. I think it's going to be very important for our citizens to be informed, and I think that we as leaders in the school system need to be informed ourselves and be able to speak to that information. And so I appreciate you bringing forth and bringing this information and being able to answer our questions.
Madam Chair, members of the board, just a couple of quick things. I'd like to thank Karen Stroud and her efforts in putting together for us some information on publicizing our board meetings through the media on television. I'd like to thank Brian Little, who's here tonight, who works at our CCI, who has given up his time to film tonight's proceedings, and we'll post these on our website and see what kind of attention they draw as we move forward with looking into that initiative. We'll get word out to the public on that availability. I'd also like to share with the public, as I did with the board earlier today and as now posted on our website, information on our Foxhall partnership and the Family Fall Festival in October, on October 27th, Saturday. And a nice video that Foxhall produced there, along with Mr. Little, who's a man of all talents, in putting that together. So I'd like to draw your attention to that. And then finally, as you see by our poster on the front of the podium here that folks in the audience can't see, tomorrow we'll be welcoming some visitors to our administrators meeting, and included in this group will be the keynote speaker, George Patton Waters, grandson of George Patton. We'll be here to kick off our character education program, the Medal of Honor Character Ed program we're excited about, to complement our character ed program we already do in our schools. And you see the pillars of that: courage, commitment, integrity, citizenship, sacrifice, and patriotism. So we're looking forward to providing this information to our principals to utilize in their schools as they see appropriate. So I just want to make the board aware of that opportunity that we have in our district tomorrow.
Dr. Pritz, as chair, I take the privilege of saying, oh, yes, do-over, one more thing. I think it would be remiss not to mention, even though we'll have a board meeting prior to that, that coming up is September Saturdays, and we want our citizens to be able to mark that on their calendar and plan to be there. I know on September 22nd is the Heroes Day, and along with other public heroes that we have in our community, we'll be honoring our Teachers of the Year on September 22nd. I know that September 29th is also September Saturdays, and I believe this is a benefit for Communities in Schools program. So it doesn't hurt to mention that now early so people can get that on their calendar, and then we can mention that again at the next meeting.
Thank you.
With that, I believe this meeting is now adjourned.